Hello! I already did the project and now I have to do an intro. I was just doing a little playing around in my, well, yeah, I guess it was in my sketchbook. And I thought I would just kind of share this with you. This is certainly not a new concept. It's something that's been around for years, but if you have an empty page in your sketchbook, or you just want to start out your sketchbook, you just don't know what to draw, this is kind of a relaxing sort of idea. It's a neurographic drawing or neurographic painting. I learned about it a couple years ago. So what you do is, it's kind of like a Zentangle kind of thing. I just don't want to do the whole page. That's what this is, the page. So what you do is you draw lines. You make sure that the lines go to the very edges of the paper in any kind of direction, like that. And then what you do is you draw like circles. They don't have to be circles. They can be any kind of shape, just over the lines at some point. So you can do them over all 4 lines. You can do just a portion of it over. You can do it right in half. You can do all different sizes. So kind of like that, depending on, you know, whatever you feel like. So then what you do is at every point where there is an angle, like a sharp angle, like here, if there's one, just make it not an angle. You curve it. So there's another one, you curve that. So everything is going to end up being rounded. There's no sharp edges. And you can play with it. You can make the lines bigger if you want, thicker like that. There's another one there. So it's usually where the lines will meet. Like that, and so on. And then if you want, you can color it in. So I have this. This is something I did a couple years ago, I guess. I never finished it. I got this sketchbook specifically for it because it was watercolor paper. So this is one that I did with, well, I don't need to turn it that way. It's not like it's... So I did it with like a Sharpie on watercolor paper, and then I just used watercolor to fill in the colors. This one came out really bad. I did it and then tried to do like, I probably like acrylic markers or something, and it came out awful. But this is another one with watercolor. I think I just used more colors in this one. These are just ones I haven't colored yet. So anyway, there's a couple. So what I decided to do was to do one of these in my stone paper sketchbook. So I did it with a liquid watercolor, but what I did was kind of like my stained glass video from last week. I tried a bunch of different watercolors, and that was one of them. So I wanted to see how it would look if I used all liquid watercolor to color it in. So that's what I did. Just waiting for it to dry. So after this portion of the video, I'll show you the portion where I'm actually doing it. And I think I'll probably have to wait till tomorrow to add the last part, which is finished product. The only thing I did notice was that because it was in a sketchbook, it wasn't like flat on the table. So it did kind of curve, so the color pooled in certain areas and left some very light colored and some kind of, you know, very saturated, but it still looks cool. Just thought I'd share that, something fun to do if you're not sure what to draw. And it's kind of a warm-up somewhat. If you feel like you want to do something, it could be a warm-up exercise or just something. Like I said, I dedicated this whole book to it. Of course, I never finished it, but yet doesn't mean I won't. But because this is watercolor paper, I'll probably just use the regular kind of watercolor. So that's it, and you'll see in the next section me actually doing this on the stone paper. All right, well, it's been overnight. They didn't come out, for the most part, they came out not thick like this, not looking like glass. They came out, I mean, oh, that's still wet too. A couple of them are wet. I was gonna show you that this is very wet, never dried. And it's not just because they were pooled, because these were pooled, and they're not wet. But these in particular, and I'll tell you why, I think, is because these are very, very old. I know that at least these two, but I wasn't sure about the orange. Oh, that one's still wet too. So it must have been. I have these very old liquid watercolors. They're gotta be, so probably 35 years old. The company doesn't even make them anymore. But I really love the colors, because look how pretty, you know? And I wanted to use them. And they work fine when you're using them traditionally, but I think they just don't dry like the other ones. Yeah, they were, Winsor & Newton made these a billion years ago. These other ones are all new. So, but I think the orange as well, it must have been, but the yellow was an eco line, which is fairly new. I'm wondering, because of this was the liquid, maybe because it was a smaller section, but some of these are smaller sections and they're not shiny. Some of them are. So I don't know. I'd say the best bet is the Genzai Tambi. Those are probably the best bet if you want that crispy, you know, kind of real glass looking thing. Not that the other ones are bad, it still looks pretty, it's just not shiny. And don't use old ones because those don't work. This is one of the Let's Make Art liquids, and I thought I would try one of these, see how this works out. In the meantime, I think I'll do a smaller one. I won't use any of the Winsor & Newton old ones. I'll use new ones and see how that turns out. Maybe I'll do it in this book so that it's smaller. So this was the Let's Make Art version, and this also stays wet a little bit. I don't know, it must be whatever ingredients are in it, and each liquid watercolor is going to be different. So there must be some ingredient that keeps it wet longer or something. All right, I'm gonna let this dry. This little spot is, because I saw these when I was looking for the watercolors, I forgot. These are Ken Oliver liquid watercolor. I don't use these very much because I forget I have them. I used a brush to move some of this liquid around. All right, I'm gonna set this down and let it dry. Okay, this is the day after, morning after. And these worked, and they don't smear, and they have the glassy look. It does, you just have to put a lot in, but if you put a lot in, you're gonna lose like the color. It's all gonna look very dark, which is, you know, expected, I guess, if you're putting a concentrated amount of color down. So this did work. This is the Ken Oliver. That was this little spot here, and that worked. And all of these are eco-line. Well, now I've been experimenting with the different kinds of watercolors, the liquid watercolor and the Genzai Tambi watercolor. Now I'm curious about the alcohol ink. I wonder if that could do like a stained glass effect. I think I'm just gonna try a little. We'll do a circle, and then we can do like, we'll do a little stained glass sort of thing. All right, so I'm gonna split that. That's kind of big. So I'll try that with the alcohol ink, and we'll see how that comes out, just for curiosity's sake. Oh, maybe not, because that spreads. Oh, it automatically spreads. Forget it. Forget it. Actually, I went, automatically it made a mess, but it is kind of cool, actually. I mean, it does dissipate the, oh, now I want to work with this, because look how much fun that is. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't mean to put that there, but that's where it's going. So see what it does. So it's gonna, oh my God, it just falls out too. All right, let's try to get it in the circle this time. And you know this stuff dries fast. Ooh. Well, that's kind of a mess. Let's get some green in there. So because the Sharpie is an alcohol-based ink, that's why it's reacting with it, I guess. So what would happen? Just put a drop in there. Ooh. That's just fun to play with. Well, it made kind of a mess, but it's kind of interesting. And that drop of red just turned instantly purple, and there's no red really to be seen, so it dries really quickly. So I guess you're not going to get like a shiny look like the watercolor, but I don't know, it's kind of fun, kind of abstract-y, kind of. It might be neat to do like a whole neurographic design and then just drop and see what happens, you know? Except with those, have to use something else. Maybe you could use a water-based marker with the alcohol ink and it wouldn't spread. Let me see if I have something like that. What's this? Let's see what that is. I don't know what this pen is. Yeah, it looks water-based. Okay, so maybe I'll try another one. Should I try it on this side? Let's do that. I mean, this isn't the neurographic because I'm not cleaning, I'm not softening the corners, but oh, this pen's really cool. So let that dry a little bit. It looks like a little person. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I decided to try to play with the alcohol ink on regular paper. This is watercolor paper. The whole back is going to be coming through, so I just put a piece of paper under it. I'm going to put the alcohol in a little dish. Done. That was an adventure. So that's the whole back. You can see through, except for where the Sharpie was. That's weird. But kind of interesting, kind of fun, something different. I think that's probably the one I like the most, but yeah, interesting to try that. So let's try this now, because that's what we started out doing. All right, let's try just dropping this in. See, oh, it's going everywhere. Okay. It just spreads. You just gotta go with it. But it's not affecting the black underneath, which is what I was hoping for. So, well, is it? I don't know. I don't think it is. Ew, that's so pretty. Oh, maybe it is in some spots, but it looks like it's in the spots where it just wouldn't dry. So I think if you let it dry long enough, I think if you left it and let it dry overnight, because for some reason this pen is very juicy, but it'll keep the shape underneath and you can do all kinds of interesting colors on top. That's kind of cool. I like that look. I wonder what that's gonna look like when it's dry. Well, this one's dry. It shouldn't take long to dry. It's alcohol, so I guess we can just wait. Anyway, I think it came out pretty cool. Is it still wet? A little bit. But Yeah, I think it just came out a little more vibrant, but it may just be because this mixed with black, so that's pretty fun. So to do this, use a water-based ink, let it completely dry, and you can just drop it in. And if you want kind of a messy looking one, use an alcohol-based ink. I really like that. Hope that was interesting. It was interesting to me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.